Zagaza. Hey, na, 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 na. Biggity man, biggity man,
Welcome, everybody. I am so excited to be speaking with Ronnie Landis. Ronnie is a author of an amazing upcoming book that's coming out this month. He's a speaker empowering people with such an inspirational message about health and nutrition and longevity. And he's just a really cool, super down-to-earth, knowledgeable guy. So today we are going to dive in deep on just sticking to one particular topic with Ronnie. We're going to talk all things detox. So Ronnie, thank you so much for being here. Let's jump in there with detox. And I'd love to hear some strategies for detoxing our bodies, and then also the contrast between detoxing and nourishing, and when you need to detox and when you need to focus on more nourishing concepts into nutrition. Could you talk about that?
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to be here. So detoxification is one of my favorite subjects because really, to me, to simplify the whole concept, there's a lot of different information out there, and I think a lot of people are kind of confused about what detoxification is or what they should do. Understand that the body is always, well, not always, but your body is in a rhythmic dance of catabolism and anabolism, and we'll get to that. That's kind of the balance of building and breaking down. Detoxification is the body's process of breaking things down and essentially eliminating them from the body. So, for example, whenever we eat food, there's going to be this balance of, in the manufacturing center of our cells are taking in nutrients to build, and then they're excreting acid waste products that don't really serve the body, so they need to eliminate those waste products. And that's what detoxification really is. It's the process of elimination. Just to simplify it for people, it's your body's system. Your body basically has 4 systems in which it eliminates from. And that's your kidneys, which is filtration, your skin, which is your largest glandular organ, which is perspiration when we sweat, right? Or when we get like photon influence from the sun, we start to sweat, and that's a form of elimination. Then your lungs, which is respiration, right? Breathing in and then breathing out. And then obviously the colon, which is elimination, like our body's main way of eliminating through the GI tract and all the compounded effects of eating and a lot of those waste products that get released through, going to the bathroom. And so just to understand that, for the sake of time and the sake of convenience for everyone, you want to incorporate practices that address all 4 of these eliminatory processes, and make sure that everything is up to speed. You should be eliminating, at least once or twice a day through the colon, and then a few times through the kidneys, through urination, the skin. We definitely want to be sweating under the sun at least one real good time a day, and through the lungs, just having that open air, breathing in and out cycle throughout the day. And that's the basic concept around detoxification for me. And then I think really what you're wanting to get into, and one of my favorite subjects, is what is this balance between anabolic and catabolic, right? In the fitness world, we kind of know about these terms. Anabolic is the process of growth and development and putting on muscle, for example, right? So anabolic exercise like sprinting and lifting heavy weights. But then there's this dynamic of catabolism or catabolic exercise, where when you're lifting weights, you're actually breaking down muscle fibers and tendon tissue. So that's going to be catabolic, where you're breaking that stuff down in order to build back up. So let me address that through detoxification. You need to be in a rhythmic dance. You can't be on too far of each end. Now, what happens a lot of times in the alternative health world, especially in the raw food world, I think what happens is we get really hyper obsessed with this idea of detoxification in terms of like juice fasting, water fasting, liquid fasting, and indefinite fasting. And we forget that we live in a very toxic, saturated world. And if we are too catabolic, meaning that we're on some kind of like low fat diet and we don't have enough buffering mechanisms in this form of like saturated fat or cholesterol, things that our body and our organs need to buffer a lot of those environmental waste products, those toxins, it's gonna leave us susceptible. Like our nervous system, for example, is going to become very susceptible to oxidation, and that'll translate into like motor function, dysfunction,
Oh man.
really serious
Yeah.
neurodegenerative issues that can occur over time. So we just want to understand the balance. When you wake up in the morning from about, I think the estimate is about like 6 a.m. To 12 p.m., your body is in a natural detoxification mode, meaning that that's the best time to fast. That's called intermittent fasting, when you wake up and you just drink water, maybe you have a juice, a tonic, or maybe even a smoothie towards 11, 12. But we're not really taking in like heavy food, like the whole like whatever, bacon, eggs, and pancakes, whatever people are doing,
hash
right?
browns.
Like hash browns, right? Like that is actually, when you do that, you inhibit that detoxification process and you slow down elimination. So that is the basic catabolic process, right? You're catabolizing, you're breaking down. Then once you get about that midday, now it's time, depending on your lifestyle, now it's time to start building your body up for the activity of the day. And I really like that balanced approach. There's a principle to health and nutrition, which is dynamic opposites, a dynamic play of opposites. So there's nothing is ever like one way or this way, black and white. There's always a dynamic like shade of gray in between everything in life, especially when it comes to our biochemistry and our health. And just to put that idea out there for people to understand, your elimination process is going to be a lot easier if you wake up in the morning and you drink at least 1 to 2 liters of water with some sea salt, maybe some lemon to acidify the water, make it a little more hydrating. And then just start building from there. Go from water to a tea or a juice into maybe a thicker smoothie, and then start migrating towards food. I think that's a more natural rhythm, and you'll be able to achieve that detox balance that we're kind of talking about.
I love that. So it's almost taking detox and doing it in a day cycle, and really every day is kind of a detox and working to the food.
Right. So let me propose this idea that I talk about sometimes, because a lot of my work focuses on degenerative conditions and very extreme situations. So let's say somebody has cancer. That's an extreme swing of the pendulum.
Right.
That's not a balanced bill of health. That's an extreme where the cells of the body basically rebel against the body, and now you're in an extreme. Now you have to do an extreme approach to pull that person back into their homeostasis point, right? Now you and me are more in a homeostasis. We can do this kind of dance every single day and have balance. Someone on that far end, if they have like an MS or Parkinson's disease, their nervous system is scrambled. You need to do an almost like an opposite approach to bring them back into balance, right? But once that person is now back into balance, now they need to kind of do what we're talking about. Instead of like the 60-day juice fast that got you out of that extreme, right? Because this is the difference between a healing diet and a sustainability diet. And a lot of people who get into raw food don't make the distinction. We think like, oh, we just need to do 60 or 90-day juice fast. And that's a fantastic idea, and it has a lot of merit and a lot of historical use. But those are like 40-day fasts. Like Jesus did a 40-day fast, right? Like you hear the 40 days happen a lot in a lot of biblical references and a lot of theology. But it's like, okay, but that's a once in a while thing. That's like a rite of passage type of thing. That's not a perpetual cycle.
And to me, like that kind of stuff gets a lot of airtime, right? The juice fast and these cleanses and detoxing
It's
gets
New Year's.
right, gets a lot of airtime. But what I'm really interested is talking about what comes after the cleansing, what comes after when you're what we're talking about right now, which is that nourishing time, and like how can you keep that sustainable for, you know, people like you and me. And to be honest, a lot of people who will be watching this, you know, are kind of in this homeostasis. Maybe people are healing something, but a lot of people are in homeostasis just trying to maintain or take things to the next level.
Right.
What is a good, where do they know that it's now I need to be nourishing my body? And maybe can you talk to people about how to know that and be okay with shifting away from cleansing a little bit?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great point. If you've been doing cleansing for a while, it might be time to stop. I mean, just for now, you want to we'll play with the balance throughout a year, but now to the credit of your question, so basically cleansing is reformatting the floppy disk of your biological hard drive, right? Once we have that idea intact, we can understand once we cleaned it up and reformatted it, now we need to start including the foods that are going to help us grow and upgrade that program. And that's going to be different for everyone. I can't tell you that that's going to be the same. In fact, I can tell you that that's not going to be the same dietary program that everyone else is following. You're unique, I'm unique, every single person is unique on every front. So there's going to be a lot of experimentation that has to take place. I would definitely say it like this. Start to evaluate what your main calorie sources are going to be first all. So you can kind of figure out what kind of dietary approach works. Like I'm more inclined towards vegetarianism, more high raw plant foods, but I do include some kind of sustainably produced animal foods. Like I'm really into, raw dairy from time to time. I like colostrum. I like deer antler from time to time. I am a herbalist, so I kind of have a adherence to some herbal alchemical type of products. I'm really into like cold processed, cold sterilized whey protein. But I kind of treat these things like cycle them in and out to get the most benefit of, so I don't develop a tolerance to it or intolerance to it. That's going to be different from everybody. So just understand that the raw food approach and the juice approach is entirely 100% is like, that's cleansing. And then after that, you will come to your own innate intelligence on what to include, what to take out, and what is actually helping me progress forward. And you got to be in kind of a childlike experimentation perspective of that. We got to get out of, I love what Daniel Vitalis said on your last interview with him about the zookeepers. I've been saying that lately. The zookeepers of the nutrition regimes. We guys, take it like a grain of sea salt, because obviously I am, one of these educators. But at the same time, take what is useful for you and leave what's not. And don't worry about what anyone else says about it. You know best for you.
Yeah, I always say that in my yoga classes, even like, I'm teaching a flow and I'm giving out these postures, but use it like a buffet. If a posture doesn't work for you, or a diet or a piece of advice doesn't work for you, leave it in the buffet. Take what you want, leave the rest for somebody else. We're all so different. And that's a point that, I know, Ronnie, you have really helped me get to understand too. Not one book works for everyone. Not one person is going to work for everyone. You have to just be okay with using your body as an experiment and figuring out what's going to work for you. And that's something that I think a lot of people who are very stuck on cleansing mechanisms and cleansing programs get very stuck in, this is what I have to do, this is what so-and-so said, or this is what they do when it works for them. And that's just not a way to be, because we are so different. So I'm glad we went over that, cleared that up for people. Yeah. And now I'd love to leave people with maybe 3 tips for transitioning from cleansing to more nourishing, or 3 tips to get into cleansing.
Okay, well, here's my personal approach to detox protocols. Perfect. And I think this is actually the most effective thing. The main thing that people are toxified from is Obviously, like a heavy amount of food particles and whatever that is, but on the tiny level, it's estrogen metabolites coming from xenoestrogens like plastic, pesticide residue, VOCs from our environment, and then it's just these environmental toxins, and then the subtle acid products that build up in the body because we can't eliminate on a daily basis, and we're dehydrated. With all that said, this is what I advise people to look into as they look into detox and kind of how to like progress forward with all this. I would say start thinking about a chelation protocol. And what chelation basically is it's certain substances that activate what's called phase 1 and phase 2 detoxification. So phase 1 is like if we do like heavy juice cleansing, right? We're stirring up the fish tank. So all those toxins that get lodged in our body, different areas in our body, they get stuck. But when we start to do a juice fast or water fast, we lodge it up, or we get on a rebounder, we flush it up. Those toxins can get recirculated in our bloodstream and become more bioactive. Now, phase 2 detoxification is chelation, where we do something like a zeolite, something like a bentonite clay, or like an activated charcoal, where it locks onto those toxins and literally escorts them out of the body. So I really recommend people can shortcut a lot of this process by actually adding in some of these chelators, like chlorella is one of them as well. But I'm just going to recommend activated charcoal right now, especially because it is like the new year. And if people want a hot, like going out to, enjoy a drink or two with their friends, but don't want the hangover, activated charcoal is going to be like your best friend, because what that does is when we drink alcohol, it goes through this kind of chemical conversion process, turns into ethanol, and then our liver can only take so much of that until it starts to burden our liver's ability to, neutralize it. Activated charcoal helps assist with that and kind of bypass and neutralize it. And so there's a lot of research actually indicating that people completely don't have any hangovers, or like 90% of their hangovers is relieved by just adding activated charcoal before you go out to enjoy a night out with your friends. I definitely recommend 1 green juice a day, though. I think green vegetable juicing is one of the most transformative things that people can add into their life, or to just have as a daily discipline. If anything, it's a daily discipline. It's that one thing that you do that you don't change anything else in your life, but it's like, that is my daily discipline. I'll go get the Haagen-Dazs, the Baskin-Robbins, the whatever. But no matter what, I have to have my green juice before that, and you'll be surprised at how subtraction by addition works out for changing your diet. Instead of trying to take things away, you just add things in, and then it starts to crowd out all the negative influences, like kind of on its own.
That green juice can be like a multivitamin. Can think of it that way.
Perfect. Yeah, we're kind of like in that pharmaceutical consciousness, and we think of like, oh, we need to take this pill. So like green vegetable juice is like your multivitamin. Perfect. And then the third thing is just like make sure you're hydrated. Like the main thing going on, the main breakdowns in civilization is dehydration, demineralization, dehydration. So with the juice and with the water, you're taking care of both of those fronts for the most part. And if you're hydrated, now that floppy disk we were talking about now has the right software that you can start programming with other food on top of it for it to work better. If you don't have the right liquid foundation, meaning your water, then the food is like, it's good, but it's not really getting activated. You know what I mean? So I think if people wake up and drink at least 1 to 2 liters of clean water with 1/4 teaspoon or a dash of sea salt and some lemon in their water, and then that green juice and maybe some charcoal for the times they need it, you're doing good.
Totally. I love those tips. And again, getting it in the morning is such a huge one, because then that way, if you forget, we get busy, things happen throughout the day. At least you've done that in the morning. I think for me, that really helps me stay hydrated if I can get it in the morning, the entire day goes better. So
Yeah.
those tips are amazing, Ronnie. Thank you so much for giving those to everybody. And do you have any other tips for anyone over the new year? Anything else you want to say?
Specifically, no, I just add on to what you just said real quick. I grew up with success literature and goal setting. Now it's kind of become like vision aspiration. But really, one of the principles is how you start your day is how you finish your day.
Yeah.
So if you wake up in the morning thinking like, wow, I just got another chance at life, opposed to, oh man, it's Monday, Jesus,
Right.
like what, like kind of that thing that goes on.
Totally.
You are setting the stage for success, no matter what it is you're going for. So start with small steps, and they start the moment you wake up. So whatever habit you're trying to instill, do it the first thing you wake up when your brain is most impressionable. And then that will build out into the foundation of the rest of your life, essentially.
Yeah,
So,
I couldn't
there you
agree
go.
more. Starting with gratitude, and something else that's really helpful for me is doing kind of those creative projects first thing, getting those juices going, because like you said, we're freshest in the morning. So
Right.
have an amazing new year, everyone. Have an amazing new year. Ronnie, thank you so much for being here, and we will be back with Ronnie again soon. Will you come back to Wonderland?
Absolutely. Only if you invite me.
Of course. You're invited anytime.
Zaga,
Thanks, everybody.